Hello there, welcome back to my channel. Today we have another Darlings and Duds video, but this one is going to be very different than anything I've ever done because in March and April, we had Ulta 21 Days of Beauty, we had the Sephora Spring Sale, my best friend came for a visit and we did extra makeup shopping. And so as I was piling up everything that I've been testing out over the last 2 months, my pile was enormous. And I thought, your minds are going to just be spinning if I go through all of these products. You're going to get to the end of the video and you're going to be like, now, did she like that product? Did she not? I can't remember. So that gave me the idea for this format. And if you like this format going forward, maybe I will do this in the future. But what we're going to be doing today is I have pulled out what I feel like were the very top 10 darlings of products that I tried over the last 2 months. And then I pulled out the bottom 5 duds. So we're gonna let the darlings kind of overtake this video, but there are 5 duds that, well, let's just say a couple of them you are going to be pretty shocked about, and it's probably going to be a very unpopular opinion here on YouTube. In fact, I haven't found anybody else who feels this way, but as I always do with these videos, I'm sharing with you what my experience is on my skin type, my skin tone, my particular issues that I have, and that information you can take and kind of assess how it fits with your skin tone, your type, whatever, and then you can make an informed purchase decision. With all of that being said, if you're new here, be sure you hit that subscribe button, and now let's get started. I'm going to break this up into darlings, duds, darlings, because I want to end on a high note. So we're going to talk about 5 darlings up front here. And starting off, the first one is a new foundation love that I have found, and it is the Clinique Even Better Serum Foundation. Now, I always get asked why I have 2 different colors of foundation. Well, I do a lot of sunless tanning in the summer, and it drastically changes the color of foundation that I need to use. But what I love about this foundation is not only is it a medium to full coverage foundation, but it just really does blur imperfections. It does not highlight pores. It doesn't highlight the lines and wrinkles. It does have SPF of 25 in there. I always like that extra sun protection. And this lasts on me so well. I prefer it without a primer underneath. I do always set it with a powder, but I've used several different setting powders with this and they all work wonderfully. So definitely a new top favorite foundation. Next up, I featured this in a couple of tutorials, and this is the Dior Maximizer 3D Triple Action Lash Primer Serum. So this is a mascara primer, but it also has lash serum benefits. So it's supposed to help your lashes grow thicker and longer. And while I've only been using this for about maybe 2.5, 3 weeks, I have noticed I have only lost 2 eyelashes in that whole time. And for me, in the past, when I have used a primer that has lash benefits, that is the first sign that it's actually working, because it's helping your lashes stay stronger longer, and that is therefore why you end up with thicker, longer lashes. Now, the first week or so I used this, I didn't feel like it was really adding a whole lot of volume and length under my mascara. But then after about a week, you know, the brush gets coated better and started applying, I noticed that this one, more than any other mascara primer, really helps me use less mascara on top of it. So I can typically get away with maybe just 1 good coat of my IT Cosmetics Superhero Mascara on top, and my lashes look really full and long. So definitely have really been enjoying this, and I do feel like this has moved into the top spot of my favorite mascara primer. Now, the third product I want to tell you about, I think this might have been the biggest surprise for me in a surprise love, because it is a drugstore concealer. And I have been on the hunt for a drugstore concealer that I would actually really love. There's a couple that I've used and I like and I would recommend to people, but I would always kind of have that caveat of like, well, it's good, but it's not one that I would choose over my high-end options. Well, my friends, I have actually found one that I have been reaching for more often than my high-end concealers. Are you ready for this? This is the Revlon Color Stay Skin Awaken Caffeine Vitamin C 5-in-1 Concealer. Yes, it has all of those things in it. So it says 5-in-1. So it has lots of extra benefits, which I think has moved it above any of the other drugstore concealers that I personally have used. So it has caffeine in it, it has vitamin C. So not only does this help kind of brighten your under eyes, but it also has hydrating ingredients. And then the coverage of it, while it is not full coverage, which is typically what I need, I have found that in combination with a color corrector, this has been enough coverage for my under eyes. And by the way, everything I'm talking about today, almost everything I have on my face today. And this is the concealer I am wearing today. And I am just continually in shock. Now this comes in a ton of shades, including 2 kind of correcting colors. There's a brightening shade that's like this light pink, and then the neutralizing shade, which is more of a yellow tone. But it also comes in an array of skin tone colors. And today I used a slightly darker shade, the 040, and I put it on and I was like, okay, this is like my perfect color, especially with more of my summer tone. Now, also, because it comes in a wide array of colors, I have been loving using the deeper shade. This is 075 as my contour shade. And it adds a little bit of extra coverage right there. So if you have scarring or discoloration on your cheeks, you can use a concealer to contour or bronze with, and that's going to give you a little extra coverage. But overall, I was just so thrilled to finally find a great, fabulous drugstore concealer. The next product, I've shared this in several different videos, and I'm kind of cheating. I'm showing you 2. It's the same product, just 2 different colors. And these are 2 new colors from the Laura Geller Blush and Brighten line. So this one, which is Starfish Island, is just so brightening and refreshing on the skin. These blushes have just a hint of glow, but no sparkle or anything. This other combination is Apricot Berry. And just looking at them in the pan, I knew I was gonna love them, but when I put them on my cheeks, these just blend in and mesh in with your skin and just really add a nice, healthy bit of color to your cheeks. They're very buildable. They last well all day. I highly, highly recommend these colors and that blush formula. Product number 5, I have also talked about a lot, shown in several tutorials, and it is the Makeup Forever. This is the Ultra HD Micro Finishing Loose Powder. And this is kind of supposed to be more of the translucent shade. There is one though that has a little bit of color, so if you're deeper skin tone, you can use that one. But I have loved this. This is the most blurring powder. Now, I've gone back and forth throughout the month, been learning kind of different ways to use this. And because it's labeled a finishing powder, it has silica base in it rather than talc. And recently I watched a video, fascinating video from Shona Scott. If you've not watched her, I'll link this particular video down below. But she was talking about why certain powders will cause your under eye area to look dry and cakey. And the main reason she listed is because you need a formulation like this that is a silica formula, because that will keep everything kind of smooth. All of that being said, I have been going back and forth with how I apply this. And recently I've been trying it under my eyes, and I have been so impressed with what a difference it is making, not only immediately, but throughout the day in preventing my concealer from creasing or looking dry. Now, I do also love the blurring effect of adding this kind of as a finishing powder on top of everything else. It blurs the pores like no other. So definitely highly recommend if you're looking for a new setting powder. All right, now let's take a break from all of the wonderful darlings and let's talk about 5 duds. And I feel like all of these products could work for somebody, and they do have great reviews. Every single one of these products I'm going to talk about, there are people that love these. So again, this is my experience. You may have a different one. You may have a different opinion, but we're going to start off with one of the biggest disappointments to me. And part of it is because this is a limited edition. I searched high and low, hunted it down. And when I got it, I was like, I feel let down. And it is the Physicians Formula Bread and Butter Bronzer Set. Now, the way that I actually finally found these was in combination with this blush, which I was also hunting and searching for because I had seen people use this. And this is the blush that starts off with cute little strawberries on it, and then you find out that that's an overspray. So this was also a bit of a disappointment to me, but I would say more so the bronzers, because Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer is one of my all-time top favorite bronzers. So I was really shocked that Physicians Formula didn't deliver another amazing bronzer to me. And I would say the biggest issue, the scent is okay, it's slightly different, but the biggest issue is these are so powdery that you just set your brush. I mean, I didn't swirl it, I didn't do anything. I just set it in and took it away. And can you see the amazing, like so much kick up, and look how much is on my brush. And so the first time I used this, I think I used the lighter of the two. And I went to go blend this on, and I mean, I had like this huge, like dark glob of bronzer, and I was like, oh my goodness, and so I'm like blending furiously, trying to blend it out. And it did eventually blend out, but I'm looking at this and I thought, okay, maybe it's a different brush. I use my BK Beauty brush, I use different ones, but literally you're getting this amazing pile of dust, and it's just really hard to control. Now, conversely, this is just the original butter bronzer in the bronzer shade. I'll use the other side of that brush. And I mean, you set your brush in and there is not a single speck of powder anywhere. And you've got product on your brush, but it's just a little bit. I mean, I can swirl my brush, and okay, maybe I finally got a little bit of kick up around there. But anyway, that is my biggest thing with those. So those were just a no-go for me. Dud numbers 2, 3, and 4, I actually no longer have in my possession because I took them back. So I will pop up on the screen the pictures. So the next dud was the Murad Oil Control Sunscreen Primer Moisturizer. And this was in the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty. And I was so excited to try it at half price. But even at half price, this just was such a disappointment. First of all, it is supposed to help keep you extra matte. It's supposed to be oil controlling, and I'm a combination veering on oily kind of skin type. And every time I used this, first time I used it without a moisturizer under it, because it is supposed to be in place of your moisturizer, sunscreen, and primer. So that's how I used it. And I was so shiny, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is really odd. So the next day I tried using it with a little bit of moisturizer on it, because what I felt like was happening was my skin was reacting to the fact that it had not enough moisture, and that can make you extra oily. So I put moisturizer on and then went on with the sunscreen. And initially I thought, okay, this is all right. And then I went to put on my foundation, and my foundation just started pilling over the top of that sunscreen. I had to take everything off, start all over. So I just had multiple different bad experiences with it. So it did not on me control my oil. It didn't work well with the rest of my skincare. So it just all in all was not the right product for me. The next product was the Benefit Professional Setting Spray. I was so excited to try this because in reading about it and then watching several other reviews here on YouTube, people were talking about how they sprayed it on and it just really made their pores look blurred. It kept their makeup in place all day. Well, for starters, I'm not a huge fan anyway of setting sprays, because other than the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Setting Spray, I have not found another setting spray that actually really makes a big difference in the longevity of my makeup. So when I used that Professional Setting Spray, not only did it not change the wear time of my makeup, but I felt like what started happening through the day is I started getting polka dot pores. Have you ever had that happen? You're looking at your skin and you're seeing foundation stuck in the pores, and around it, it looked kind of blurred, but it was like the setting spray kind of gathered the foundation into the pores, into the fine lines. It was just a no-go, and definitely went back to the store. The third product, and this is where I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of people go, what? You didn't love it? It is the new formulation of the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Foundation. This is one that my best friend and I both were so excited to try. We bought it together and we were trying it out together, and we both were kind of like, Initially, we felt like it looked really nice on the skin. It was very lightweight. It was not full coverage. We noticed that right off, but that's not necessarily a deal breaker for me. So I continued trying it out over the course of about 2 weeks, and I tried it with different primers, different powders, and what started happening is towards about the middle of the day, I felt like my skin was looking almost kind of dry, and it was starting to wear off a little bit patchy. I tried extra moisturizer, I tried different things, and then one day I just happened to turn the box over and look at the ingredients and realized SD alcohol was the third ingredient in that foundation. And I thought, no wonder. Even though I'm a combination oily kind of girl, I'm not a big fan of alcohol in skincare products or makeup products to begin with. But I was noticing that over the course of time, it was affecting my skin and it was drying it out. It was just not looking pleasant. So for all of those reasons, it was a big dud for me. All right, and now onto the most controversial dud, and I think the most shocking dud for me. And it almost pains me to say it, because in looking at this palette, my initial impression of this palette, just seeing it for the first time, I was like, oh, this is my kind of palette. It is the Patrick Ta Rose Dimension palette. All right, let's see. The good of this palette, I have used this and it's so reflective. I'm sorry. Okay, there we go. I've used this palette numerous times and in numerous ways because I wanted to make sure it wasn't just user error or just I was just having a bad makeup application day or what. So for the good part of this palette, and it's true of the first one, the mattes in here and this one shimmer shade the formulation of those is beautiful. The mattes blend well, they're pigmented. I love the color story of the whole palette, and I felt like all of those things performed well. The problem came in for me first with these cream shadows. So these cream shadows are meant to be used as a base. You can use them for a base for the mattes. I tried them for a base for the glitters, and they are super creamy to touch, all right? And the colors are really beautiful. I want to do just kind of a demonstration here for you. And so I thought, wow, this is gonna be really nice because I like using a cream base to really intensify shadows or use this darker shade kind of more of as a liner. And so again, I use them in multiple ways. The first time I used it, I used the darker one kind of in the outer corner and topped it with a darker shadow. And by about 4 or 5 hours in, I have hooded eyes. So, you know, the lid is rubbing against the lid above it. So that's an issue for, I know, many of you. And I noticed I had this big gap of shadow right there. And it was like looking creasy. And I'm like, what is going on? So then I tried this lighter shade on a different day on my lid with one of the glitter shades, and initially really loved how it looked, but within a short amount of time, probably about 4 hours, I started noticing like the glitter was like almost disappearing, and I was getting creasing in the crease. And so I'm like, what is the deal here? Is it the glitters? Is it the cream formulation? Well, I put the creams on the back of my hand the other day and I let them sit for a good 10 minutes, and you'll see, they never actually set. They continue to just move. And this is problematic, especially if you have oily eyelids. Now, I always use an eyeshadow primer, and I used every good eyeshadow primer that I have, and none of them could keep this in place. They also would not stay in place when topped with a powder shadow. So I thought, all right, well, the creams, okay, maybe I'll keep this palette still for the rest of it. But the other issue I have with it is all 4 of these shades, while they look like there's a lot of color, and I wish that they had a base color like this shimmer one, they're just basically a glitter topper. I am not opposed at all to a glitter topper. I love glitter toppers. But I feel like these 3, there's not a whole lot of differentiation on the lid when you apply them because there isn't much base color. Now, the other thing that was kind of like the final deal breaker is I noticed every time I applied the glitter to my eyes, I would almost immediately start having eye irritation, and through the rest of that day, my eyes would just feel irritated. Now, I wear contacts, I do have sensitive eyes, but I wear glitter shadow, case in point what I'm wearing right now, without any issues. So I don't know if it's something in the formulation or just that they just fly all over as I'm applying them and they get in the eyes. I don't know. But every single time I've applied one of the glitter shades, I end up with eye irritation. So for the amount of money that I paid for this palette, even on sale, it is not worth me keeping just for the 6 shades that actually work well for me. So this one is going back. All right, let's end this video on a high note and let's go back to our darlings, and I have 5 more to talk about. All right, this next one you've also seen many times, and I did not want to love this, but I love it, and it is the Gucci bronzer. I have the shade number 3. Not only is the packaging just stunning, but the formulation is truly different than any other bronzer I have. I know some of you are rolling your eyes. You're like, oh, come on. Now, don't get me wrong. Physicians Formula, great bronzer. If you're happy with that, don't even try this. But there is just something magical about this. One of you said it was like pixie dust. And I'm like, it is. is that finishing glow. I have it on today. You can't see where it starts and stops. It blends itself. It is just a beautiful, beautiful formulation, and you need so little product. So I feel like even though it is expensive, I'm going to have this for a very long time, and it's a good thing. Next up, let's talk about what is on my lips, the main color that I'm wearing today. And by the way, I do have a tutorial coming up after this video of my entire look today, and it's featuring several of these products and other darlings that I use through the month. But on my lips today, the main color of lipstick is this Christian Audette lipstick. This was a collaboration with Lisa D here on YouTube, and this shade is called Golden Hour, and it is just a really beautiful, beautiful kind of girly pink. It is one of those lipsticks that is sheer in that you need to build up the color to really get the full pigment, but you can build the color without it becoming this greasy, goopy mess. And that is because the formulation, like when you put this on your lips, I expected it to be one of those really balmy textures, you know, that was really soft, that you would feel like you have to be super careful or else you're gonna break the lipstick, you know how those formulas are. This is not that way. So it feels kind of like a stiffer texture, but once you kind of start layering it, it just starts melting into your lips, but it builds on itself really well, and the color lasts and lasts. It's hydrating. It has a very light, sweet scent, and the packaging is just gorgeous. So all in all, a huge, huge surprise love, but definitely I'm a big fan. Now, we've got to talk about some eyeshadow palettes. This cannot be a Darlings and Duds video without having tried a gazillion eyeshadow palettes, right? I did try almost, it felt like a gazillion, but I've just narrowed it down to 3. All right, the first one is actually an eyeshadow and blush palette, and I have not seen anybody else even talk about this yet. I need to do a tutorial using it, but it is the Tarte Rainforest Temptations palette. Now, they've done several of these throughout the years, but it's been quite a long time, I feel like, since they've done them. And this color combination, I know Tarte gets a lot of flack for, oh, a typical rosy brown palette, you know. I love them, but apparently a lot of people don't. But I feel like this has a lot of unique tones in here, and that was what drew me to it. So yes, you have kind of a little bit of kind of a berry tone right here, and kind of like a neutral tan shade. But then look at what we have going on here. We've got this like really vibrant ochre shade. We've got a very vibrant kind of rusty orange. But then as we move around, gotta wipe my finger off here. As we move around here, we have almost like a bright coral shade. And then we've got these shades right here, which have a touch of kind of like a little bit of a khaki green undertone. I just feel like they are so pretty. And one of the things I love most is they did these 2 shimmer shades. One is this vibrant gold. This other is a very cool silvery white. But by combining the 2, you can come up with like my perfect inner corner highlight shade, or just a shade to use on the lid. So combining the 2, they come together and make a really beautiful champagne shade. So I love that. And then the blush in the center looks pretty boring, but let me tell you, it's gorgeous, and it's a different shade than I own. It has a hint of glow, and on the cheeks, I feel like this comes off even with a little more warmth, and it might be dependent upon your skin tone, but I have been super impressed by this palette. All right, this next one I'm going to try to get through without tearing up at all and just think happy thoughts. but this is the Pretty Puppy palette, and it is actually what I have on my eyes today, plus one other item, so make sure you check out that tutorial. But this was done by Too Faced, and my best friend sent this to me and just said, hey, I just hope this is a really fun way for you to commemorate Bojo. So I've nicknamed this my Bojo palette. He's gonna be sitting here in my makeup room with me doing makeup. But aside from that part of it, the shadows in here are so lovely. I mean, the formulation, I feel like Too Faced can be kind of hit and miss sometimes, but every single shadow in here performs well. This is an all-in-one palette for me. I did bring in kind of a brighter highlight shade in my look today, but I mean, the depth that you can get here, this shade is so pretty. And then this pink shade, and then you've got two different crease colors. So you can go like warm brown, you can go with this cool mauve shade. And then of course you've got this kind of bright coppery shade that you can mix with the pink. I don't know. I just feel like this color combination has been a surprisingly versatile combination, and one that I know I'm going to get lots of use out of. And again, the quality, they do set and stay all day, and the mattes blend well. So my little Pretty Puppy is definitely a top 10 darling. And the final top 10 darling, some of you putting on your thinking cap, you're like, what other palette? Yeah, you'll know it when you see it. This is the Sigma New Mod palette. Now, I am not going to go into much detail on this because I have a whole dedicated video that shows you swatches. I show you a demo with this palette. And so I'll just briefly say I have continued using this palette over and over, and every look I've done with this, I just love. And I feel like this is such a versatile palette. You don't have to do pinks, you don't have to do purple. I did a look with just these two shades, and I mean, very neutral. You would not have guessed that those came from a rosy palette. But it has the cream natural shade that I need. It has a bright inner corner shade, and just lots of versatility. The quality of these shadows is wonderful. And as a bonus, you get a very nice brush. These are actually Sigma brushes that come individually that they put paired together. So that brings us to the end of this Darlings and Duds video. I hope that you enjoyed this. Please let me know down in the comments below whether you like this format, and I will consider doing it again. I just feel like it allows me to give you a little more information about each product, and at the end, you're not so much feeling like product overload. So thank you so much for watching. Be sure you stay tuned for a tutorial on this look, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.